Okay, so uh, I was trying to maintain the user accounts on the Oracle database and had some issues with it. So just so you know, here's the command we use to create a new user on our Oracle instance. Here's the one I did not run on you guys. So some of you might have had this already. You need to have these privileges. I think they're the same as the other class. I don't think there's one for you guys, 2340, that would be any different. So the privileges are just the same. I'll double check that actually, but I'm gonna actually just test that while I'm showing this. But this is what I need to use. So I already created this user and then I purged this user and I'm gonna create it again. So just to show you how that goes. So, and here's the thing, whenever you're doing scripts, especially use this one instead of this one. Sometimes it doesn't matter which one you use, but for scripty stuff, you want to use this one. So specifically the script that I'm about to show you how to use, which is that last step in your checklist. So if you try to do it before I did this, I should have, at this point when you've seen this video, before I made the video, I granted the correct privileges to all of you students, so you should have them. But so you should be able to do the stuff that I'm doing now. But if you try to do this before, you might not have been able to run the script that's in that last step of the week 1 checklist. Anyway, let me create this user. I need to use this account, the DBA account. So you see how it says Gen student created, grant succeeded. So that should be okay now. Let me log out of SysDBA. This account, let's just go here. There's different ways you can do this, but I'll disconnect from here. So that's the one I use when I'm managing things. No, I don't need to save this. Whenever I ask you that, it's asking if you want to save the stuff that you've typed, like locally on your own machine, just in case this is confusing at all. And I should probably save this one, honestly, but yeah, I actually will, just to show you. So pick a place to save it. If it comes up, this is not working for me, of course. Hold on. All right. I couldn't save it. Of course, anytime that you try to do something online, it flakes out on you. So I'm going to start over. Hi, students. So I've been like setting up your accounts and stuff, and there's a little step that I left out that I fixed by the time of this video being made. Like right now, it should have been fixed already. And I needed to grant a suite of privileges to your account. So I've created your accounts. I did the logins and the passwords and stuff, but I neglected for some of the newer ones, especially, to grant the privileges that you need for, like, do you have permission to create a table? Do you have permission to create a view or to create a session where you can log in? You can have an account but not have a login session privilege. So there's a whole suite in just this one little command I had to run for each of you, and I've done that, so it should work now. So you guys, if you, before this video, if you had trouble, say, running that last script and the last item on your weekly checklist on checklist week 1, where you do the store schema, and it gave you a bunch of errors or whatever, that's why I was doing it. It's because I had not done that yet. So this is a student account. I just created it and I granted it the privileges. Let's see. I have actually run it. I actually created it twice. So I created it and then I disconnected it, and now I'm going to I created it and then I purged the whole user because I wanted to like not have to reinvent the wheel on the database stuff, and I didn't have like a script to undo it. So and I just realized I keep, for whatever reason, this is another thing that's been a pain in my butt the whole time. I keep forgetting to put the exclamation mark, and I know I did it on this one too. So 2021, not bang at the end. Let's test it. Yeah. So this is a student account that has the same privileges that you do. So I just kind of want to show you what you want to do. Let me first of all, let me show you what it looks like. You have a little sheet, a little image about what this looks like, but these are the things you need. ORCL, not one, so it's kind of like short for Oracle. There's different kinds of SIDs you can put here, but Oracle's the one we use. The ORCL is the one we use. Port 1521, here's the IP address. I'll read it out loud in case anybody's like hard of seeing, like in case you have presbyopia. I actually, just like this past week, I've been trying out monovision contact. So I have one contact in one eye. This is totally a tangent. You don't care. But It actually works. So 198.146.192.5757. So I call this Gen Student, and it's got the default password, which I need to change so none of you guys play any pranks. I use this sometimes to test out to make sure things work for you guys, because I have different. I have an account that's pretty much the same as yours, I think, and then I have a system like an admin account. So anyway, so if I connect with this, this is kind of what you'll get. You'll get this blank worksheet, whatever it's called, in Oracle. And what you want to do, and what I'm talking about, let me actually pull this up here. All right, so for this is not the right class. Hold on, let me go back. You think it'd be pretty easy when you only have 3, but here we go. So the check, I know I made a link to it right here. Here's the checklist. This used to be a document that had each of these steps, and I just kind of pasted them as your pasted them in as your task. So it's kind of ugly. I don't really like it, but it serves for this week. I might change it from now on. But here's the script. So if you click on this, you'll get this SQL book files.zip. If you download that and then open it, here's my version of it. Somewhere here, maybe it's this one. You'll get SQL book files, and it has a couple different things in here, but you want to go to the SQL folder, and then there's one called store schema.sql. So if you open that, I use Visual Studio Code. So that's this text editor here. Here's what here is what the SQL looks like, and it did say to examine. I just remember this when I saw it. It told you to examine this and then run it. So let's actually talk about it a little bit. So you can see it has create tables. Let me fold this up. Create a bunch of tables that it creates first, and some of you know this stuff. Like some of you have like experience with databases. I noticed in some of your histories and stuff, but some of you just had 1303. So I'm going to base it on that. All this stuff. So if you know this stuff already, you know, like you could tune out if you want. But 1303, this should be a refresher. You kind of got into this stuff at the end. So because of something called referential integrity, there's an order you need to create these in. So the one-to-many relationship side of things, the one side has to be created before the many side, because you have to put those foreign keys in based on primary keys that already exist in tables. So if you'll notice, there's an order to this. So you got customers and then product types. Product types before products tells me that there's a foreign key for each kind of product. So there's, this is the one side, and then this product type, let's say, I don't even know what the product types can be because I haven't looked at the actual data yet, but let's say appliance. I don't know. That's that's primary key number 1 as appliance. That means there could be several different records inside the products table that have 1 as the foreign key, which stands in for like appliance. And you can see these constraints here where you set up the foreign keys, etc. So you kind of have to do the one sides before you do the many sides. So you can see this here too. Purchases, looks like it's got some foreign keys in it that are based on customers purchasing things. It looks like maybe, and the customers purchasing a product. You have to have the customer table and the product table with their primary keys established for each record that appears as a foreign key here in this purchases table. This looks like it's probably a may or may not. I have to look. It's got a composite primary key, so it's probably some kind of bridge table, junction table, however you want to call it. So I'm kind of reviewing things here. I hope this might turned out to be more useful than I thought it would be. But okay, so employees, salary grades, etc. So there's a whole bunch of tables. So just take a look at that and see if you understand what I mean about the foreign key tables, what I would call the bridge tables or junction tables or associative entities. There's lots of different names for this. They need to be created after the primary key tables that the foreign keys come from. So there is an order to this. So there's a lot of tables. This is one of the things I noticed, because if you didn't have the privileges, you got a bunch of errors, and it kept reporting those errors, and it just kept go. I had to stop it every time because it would never run out of time because it was trying to do so many things. So you can see this file is really long. And then it has a bunch of procedures and functions it creates. This is more advanced stuff that we'll learn before the end of the semester. We'll learn about stored procedures and functions, and then you insert the data. So you've got the tables created first. That's data definition language, DDL, just to review that for you. And this is, now you're doing DML, data manipulation language, where you're adding data actually to the structure. So you build the structure so that you contain the data first, and then you insert the data. And in this case, you're doing it one record at a time. So insert into customer, insert into that table customers, which I don't like that S, by the way. I'm a purist about database table names. They should be singular, but I'm fighting that. I'm tilting at windmills on that one. So you're inserting all the data, all the records for the customers and the product types. And notice you do just like when you create the tables with the primary key side before the foreign key side. You also need to insert the data the same way. You can't insert a product that has a certain product type unless you've already created the product type. So if you have a new product and it's a brand new product type, you have to first go to the product type table, enter that product type in with its primary key, and then you can insert that new product. It could be the only one that's that product type so far because you just created it, but you have to do the product type first side of it first. So the long and short of that is there's an order to creating the tables based on referential integrity. And then there's also an order to inserting your data because of referential integrity. And it's sort of the same order, right? The same things need to be inserted in the same way. So you'll do all your products and your customers before you do your purchases. I say all, not necessarily all. If you have purchases that don't involve any of the customers or products that you have already, then you have to do those products and customers first before you do the purchase. But you can always do purchases that involve the things you've already got. I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of all over the place here. So we've got a bunch of data we're inserting, and we're not only partway down the script. So, and this is the kind of thing you'll see when you want to create like a whole schema, like a whole bunch of different tables that you've already defined, and you have the data form and everything. This kind of big script is how you would do it. And there's different styles for creating these scripts. One of the things you'll often see is that for especially for these educationals, but also other versions too, you'll have a bunch of drop tables and you'll drop a bunch of things at the top to sort of reset things. So I'm not sure why they didn't do it in this one, because they do it quite often. As a matter of fact, actually, it looks like they might have. They're just in comments. So this first section, which I kind of just skipped over because I do what the computer does, I skip over the comments. These are all comments in the script. They're not actually executed. So if you look, there's some things that actually don't get done unless you uncomment these. So if you want to create the store user, which I don't think you can do because I don't think you have privileges to create users, but if you did, you would have to do uncomment this. And you can see how it's granting some privileges to that user and quotas and stuff like that. And also drop user cascade, drop user store cascade. The user's name is store. If you do this, which is what I did on my gen student just a minute ago, my generic student, I did this very command, drop the user cascade. Cascade means ignore the referential integrity stuff and just force all these things to drop all the tape. Basically, it's going to drop user store cascade will drop all the user schema objects. So things like tables and views and stored procedures, blah, 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 that are all tied to that user will be dropped. And cascade means to, we'll talk more about cascade later, but it's a way of propagating forward through the referential integrity. Because one of the things you'll notice about, I know I'm blasting all through this, it's just kind of coming to me. All these thoughts are coming to me about issues. So Cascade is often used. You want to use it judiciously, but what it does is say if you delete a doctor from a doctor table and that doctor has patients he treats, this one doctor treats many patients, right? So it's that one-to-many thing. So he appears as a foreign key in the patient table. You can't delete a doctor from the doctor table before you change all the foreign keys for him in the patient's table. So you either have to do that, reassign those patients to other doctors, or null them out if that's possible. If you can null the foreign key, if that's allowed, then you can maybe do something like that, which that's kind of sloppy. I recommend against having nulls wherever possible. But or you can add a cascade to your delete. From deleting the doctor record, you put a cascade in. I don't remember the exact syntax. I look this stuff all up all the time. I think some case maybe just add the word cascade to the end of your delete or somewhere in your delete. And what it means is it says, okay, I'm going to delete all the patients that this doctor has. So you want to be sure that you want to delete those patients. Say, well, these patients are out of luck because we fired this doctor and they have to go too, right? Probably not what you want to do, but I can give you an example in real world where I worked one time. You have projects, and sometimes you'd have a duplicate project in the database, and like a mess, or maybe just whoever was running the project decided they didn't want that particular project in the database. So if you delete the project, you would want to delete everything that's connected to it in subtables, like where it's foreign keys or whatever. So that's the case where you're like, I want to delete this project and everything associated with it. That's where you would cascade. I'm off on a big long tangent. Sorry about this. If you want to skip forward, because the point of this video is to show you how to do this, run the script. So we're still inserting data, still inserting data, still inserting data. It looks like it's pretty much all we're doing until the very end. And then some commits in different places. So one of the things to remember is that it depends on the thing, and I forget that this is something we'll have to relearn. There's rules about when you commit, what things automatically commit and what things don't. I want to say DDL automatically commits, but DML doesn't. So if you insert a record, it's not really there until you commit. Is that correct? It's just the memory. It's waiting. Anyway, we'll get something more solid, including me, when the commits are required. But that's pretty much it, what's left. There's a couple tables here at the end too. Let's see. Anyway, I think that's enough description of what's going on. That's what you're supposed to do, is like look this over and see if you understand what's going on. But I hope I gave you some hits, and you can look at it in your own time. But the way I always use this is now we're actually going to create these tables for you as a student in the database. So provided I've got everything correct, and if I don't, like, send me an email and let me know something's not working. But you want to select all of this text, then copy it. So I did Control A and Control Charlie, and then I go to the worksheet. I'm logged in, right? I think I'm probably still logged in, and then paste, and then cross your fingers because I'm making a video and I'll have to like edit this if this doesn't work. Click on the green arrow with the piece of paper, run script. And like I said, cross your fingers and hope if it looks like this far in, you're probably okay. If it just like has a bunch of stuff that's not errors, then you can probably breathe easy. And like I said, this is a very long one. It takes a little while, but it doesn't take forever if there are no errors. If there are no errors, then it will stop fairly soon. I'm not going to pause this video because I know it'll end any moment now, but want it. It seems like when I ran it before I did the video, it was much faster, but we'll see. I'll give it a few more seconds before I pause. Yeah, there we go. So commit complete at the end. So it almost took a minute there, 47 seconds anyway. So once that's done, what you should notice is over here, there's a few different objects in the schema under the user. And I'm sorry, it should be student because I'm logged in as student. This is my other account. Under student, before there weren't any tables, and now there are tables. So as you can see, and by the way, like the account that I've got, this is what I've used in the class before to like prepare the lessons and stuff. You see, there'll be a lot more tables eventually, but for now, yours should look like this. If you have some other stuff from previous semesters and stuff, that's fine. But if you've got a brand new account that I just created for you for this semester, it should look like this. That's just the tables, and of course there are some views that were created too. I think there were there views? I don't actually remember if there are any views. What's an easy way to find out? Control F, create view. I guess not. All right, so it didn't create any views. It did create some storage procedures though, if I remember right. There's this, so yeah, update product price, at least one it looks like. Maybe some indices or indexes, however you want to say it. Anyway, if you get the same results that I just did, then you're fine. And if you wanted to like do a test, just to make sure everything's working somewhat okay, good old select star, right? Everybody in this class should know this. If you don't though, don't feel bad. You'll know it soon enough. But if you've had 1303 or the equivalent, then you should know what select star is. But right, all columns from a table, and then all the records, because he didn't do a where. So it's the basically it's every record, every column and every record. So all cells, you can see it's got a year, a month, product type. So this looks like this employee sold this product in this month and year. So that's the information, right? Going back to that other video, the data is, I meant to say this in my video and I didn't for the other courses, but I wanted to say one way of thinking about data, but it might not have made sense to them. It should make more sense to you guys. One way to think about what datum means, a piece of data, a singular fact, is the intersection of a row and a column in a relational database. That's sort of what it corresponds to, in a way. Like, that's me coming up with that too. I haven't read that from any database theory, theorists or whatever there, but I'm going to make that observation. Is that one way to think of what it means for something to be a datum versus information? Is it's an intersection in a table, in an entity, so in a relation of a column and a row. So you've got this record number. Well, actually, we have to look and see the schema. I don't feel like looking at that right now, but what is the primary key? It's probably some combination of several of these. It's at least product type, and might be all of it, actually. The whole thing. I'd have to look to see what it is. But anyway, you get the idea. So this was the long and short is, like, if you got to this point and your stuff looks kind of like this, then you have got through the first week, kind of, because I didn't like assign anything else. I just wanted to make sure everybody got everything up and running, and you could at least get to this point. If you can get to this point, then we can do all this rest of the stuff we need to do for the semester. If you have any questions, let me know.